Get fluent in the language of success. Practice learning how to speak about success with experts who are fluent in the language of success. One of the best ways to learn a foreign language is to fully immerse yourself into the culture of the people who speak the language best. The same principle applies to speaking the language of success. You want to be around people who know how to speak million-dollar deals into existence. You want to be in a conversation when the next great non-profit is born. You want your ears to be accustomed to listening for the next great idea that is going to revolutionize the world. Imagine, what could you really accomplish in your speech if your speech was filled with more statements that began with "I can" than "I can't"? How far could your dream soar if you said "why not me" instead of "why me" more often? And just like when you are learning a new language, you're still going to slip up and say "I could have done" instead of "I will do." Surround yourself with native successful speakers, and before you know it, you'll begin to speak the life of your dreams into existence. Some parts of your vision are meant to be shared in confidence only with trusted mentor, friend, or family member. And some aspects of your vision, honestly, don't need to go beyond your prayer time with God. You gotta put your name on the list. So many people are missing their way in life because they are afraid to sign the lease on their gift. You can clearly see your dream, but you are wasting time overthinking the unknown or talking to people who don't understand your aspirations. I know far too many people in Hollywood who go around saying, "I'm a waitress for now, but I'm really an actress." Then why aren't you acting already? If you are committed to making your dream a reality, you gotta put your name on the list. You will miss out on the true blessing of your life if you don't accept that your gift is your winning ticket and the key to your life's blessing. All you have to do is to commit to your gift. Once you commit, the rest of it, the money, the connections, and the opportunities will start coming to you in ways that you can't imagine. Let me put it in another way. When you put your effort into your gift, you're giving God something to bless. I never expected to fail at comedy. I only expected to succeed. Even when I faced some of my darkest times, I'll just hold on to those little pieces of light along the way until those lights turned into one open field of opportunity. Success action. I want you to take a few minutes and think about all the excuses you made in the last week. Write them down, all down on the next page. Now, circle or highlight the ones that you use most. We are going to call these your top 3 excuses. Write these down on page 27 below your top 3 excuses. Write down 3 expectations to replace these excuses. We name these your top 3 expectations. Need help defining the 2? Here are my definitions. Excuses, why I can't. Expectations, why I will. See the difference? Excuses are self-imposed roadblocks and traffic jams that take you off your road to success. Expectations are wide open lanes reserved for those people who are willing to pay the price of excellence. What are the new expectations that you can create for your life? What will you begin to tell yourself when the life gets hard? You got them? Now write them down. My favorite excuses, top 3 excuses, top 3 expectations. And if you're serious about this, I want you to take your new expectations one step further by writing them on a clean sheet of paper and signing it. These new declarations will be your commitment to yourself, marking the beginning of your journey to greatness. Chapter 2: Fear of Failure. During one of my earlier appearances on Bishop T.D. Jakes' talk show, I made a bold proclamation: I am the most fearless person you will ever meet. I don't know what made me say it, because I had never said something like that before in my life. I figured that the bishop and his team really liked what I had to say, because they used that sound bite in the video promos advertising my appearance on the show. But here's the real deal: I'm afraid a lot. I was afraid to pursue my talk show because I thought it might not work out. I was afraid to do a radio show because I didn't know if I would be accepted in enough markets to be successful. I was afraid to take on the Kings of Comedy tour. When Walter Latham came to us and said we were going to be playing in basketball arenas, I was scared. The largest crowd I had ever performed in front of at the point was 5,000 people, and that was on a good night. When I interviewed President Obama, I was terrified because I didn't want to blow it. Before I did Bishop Jakes' Mega Fest, I tossed and turned for 3 nights in a row. My biggest moment of fear came when I did my first 1-hour BHBO special. I had never been more afraid of anything in my entire career. The Bell Auditorium in Augusta, Georgia was completely sold out. I was positioned backstage behind a sheer curtain, waiting for the show to start. My heart was beating so hard that I could literally see the pocket square in my suit rising and falling. If you look closely at the footage from that special, you can even see my hands glistening with sweat. Something went wrong with the timing for opening up the main curtains to begin the show. I was anxious as I waited behind the curtain for a good 6 to 7 minutes. But even though I was out of the audience's view, I could just feel their love saying, "Come on, Steve, do not let us down." When the curtain finally arose, the crowd went crazy. I grabbed the mic and just let it swing for a minute in order to collect my cool. When I finally started talking, I had my voice begin to quiver. I just kept saying, "Lord, please calm me down. Come on, Lord. This is my own HBO special. Please, God." And guess what? About 15 minutes into my set, all my nerves disappeared and I was hot as smoke. That set became one of my best specials to date. What I learned from that moment is that when you face your fears, they aren't as big as you thought they were. What makes them big is when you don't turn round to face them head on. The longer you avoid your fears, the bigger they grow in your mind. As I stood behind that malfunctioning curtain, I kept thinking, "Lord Jesus, look at all these people." The longer I stood there, the more I realized that I could keep worrying about the 2,400 people in the room and fail, or I could just go out there and I could actually win. It really just comes down to deciding whether you want to win or lose. Failure is part of the process. Most people fail because they become paralyzed by their fear. You have to choose. Am I going to face my fears and go see what my life can really be? Or am I going to succumb to my fears and do exactly what I've always done? When you go with the letter, You've set yourself up for failure, yet again, because you didn't even attempt to win. How many times do we allow ourselves to avoid getting things done in our lives simply because we fear what we think the outcome is going to be? I've told myself just to go try something if there is even a remote possibility of something great happening for my life and my career. You have to learn to convince yourself that the possibility is greater than the inevitability of doing nothing. Listen, if you are an entrepreneur who is passionate about your product, but you never ask anyone to buy what you are selling, it will never get sold. Sure, there's a possibility that you can deliver your best sales pitch in your best Sunday suit, and they will still say no. But so what? Do you know how many times I've been told no for movie scripts, television shows, and comedy specials? A whole hell of a lot more times than I had yes. You know how many jokes I've written that nobody has laughed at? Thousands. I have a whole cemetery full of dead jokes with tombstones standing above them. But in all seriousness, I took those bad jokes out of my act and I learned how to get good ones, good at my craft. There are many jokes that I wish I had never written, and there are some that I have knocked out the park. But guess what? I now have 6 comedy specials with 8 hours of original A-list jokes, and in them I never repeated a single one. You want to hear something shocking? 85% of small businesses in this country fail within the first 2 years. 85%. That's a whole lot of failure. Warren Buffett said that he would not invest in any business where the owner hasn't failed at least twice. I love that truly wealthy and successful people understand that failure is part of the process. But far too often, when we face the failure of a business venture, we let that failure paralyze us from trying again. The failure could stem from a lack of financial planning, a lack of resources, or the lack of the right team members. But you have to realize that failure is part of the process. When you are on the road to success, the only way to get back on track is to come up with another plan. I have failed more times than I can count. But you can't let the failure freeze you in a place and stop you from pursuing your dreams. The bomb in Charlotte. When I was doing stand-up comedy full-time, I quickly learned that the hardest night is not your first one. It's the night when you have to go back out there after you've had a bad one. I had an experience like that during the first night of the original Kings of Comedy tour in Charlotte, North Carolina. My mother had just died and my mind just wasn't there. In addition, I had just finished a live comedy special, but I was so messed up that I didn't even watch it. Each of us kings was supposed to do a 30-minute set, but Seth got up there and did 47 minutes. Barney's set got so good that he stayed up there for a whole hour. They were ripping the room so much that the arena had to call a mandatory break. Then there was a malfunction with a piece of equipment, and the break ended up lasting 45 minutes. So here I come, trying to deliver my set after these people had already sat through almost 2 hours of comedy between Sid and Barney, plus an unexpected 45-minute break. When I walked out there, it was horrific. I was doing jokes from my comedy special. I didn't realize that most of the people there had already had them. People were booing, arguing, and fussing, and I just became discombobulated. All I can say is that it was a rough night. On the way to the airport the next morning, a Charlotte DJ named AJ let into me. He said and Vanny were hot, but Steve is no king of comedy. He predicted that the tour was going to be a complete disaster. I knew this guy personally, and I was mad that he was playing me so cold. By the time we got to the airport, I ran into a few people who had seen my performance the night before, and they were trying to be encouraging by saying, "Steve, it's alright, we love you anyway." I appreciated their support. Once we boarded a plane and got settled, I started writing. When we landed in Kansas City later that day, I shut myself up in a hotel room and I wrote some more. Before I knew it, I had written a brand new 45-minute set. I got so lost in writing, revising and practicing in the mirror that when Bernie came up in the room to grab me for dinner, I said, "Nah, I'm just going to stay here and finish working on this." The next night in Kansas City, I had a long talk with Bernie and said, I told them that they had to stick closer to a 30-minute set, but said went out there and did 40 minutes, and Bernie followed up with 48. So much for them following the time limit. There was a 20-minute intermission after Benny, and I started to get started because I had bombed so badly in Charlotte. When I finally got up there, I killed it. I left the stage that night and every night for the next 2 years with standing ovation. Our first 2 nights in Charlotte and Kansas City helped me to begin looking at failure differently. I learned that failure doesn't have to be this life-shattering, "I'm never going to do this again" experience, but is in fact an opportunity to gain a valuable learning experience. I knew Kansas City was going to be a hard night to be through at first, but if I hadn't gone through such an awful night in Charlotte, I would never have written that new 45-minute set. My failure in Charlotte gave me the right experience that I needed to rip up the stage the next morning in Kansas City. Many times when people graduate from college, they can barely get a job. Why? Because they don't have experience. No employer wants to hire someone who has never lost before, who has never failed before, or who has never made a mistake before. Employers want someone who is experienced with failure, has learned from it, and can get the job done. So you see, failure is not here to defeat you, but to give you the power to gain those life experiences that you can come back to and learn from again and again. Opening the doors of your personal prisons. I've learned to seek wisdom from people from all walks of life, including men and women in the prison system. Many people look at prisoners as failures. The reality is they fail to do right and were caught. But the fact that they are incarcerated does not mean they are failures at everything. It depends on their response to their predicament. They may have limitations in their freedom, but I love it when prisoners determine that the prison system can't own their souls. They have found peace with the actions that landed them behind bars. They've asked for forgiveness for their wrongdoings, and some have even apologized to the victims of their crimes. Many of them have committed to improving themselves spiritually, physically, and mentally. Some have even taken youngsters under their wings and said, "Hey, don't mess up your life like I did. If you get a chance to walk out of this door, stay out and don't come back." There is a new day breaking for all of us. And if these incarcerated men and women can find light and hope within the confines of prison walls, how dare those of us who walk around here freely every day not see the light that shines upon us? Some of us are incarcerated in the prisons of our own minds, but not looking for our own light. We can easily get caught behind the bars of a dead-end job, a lifeless marriage, or a hopeless financial situation. We have to get up every day and make the choice to focus on the positive. If we choose to focus on the negative, we are not walking toward our light. If we look at our background, our social status, and every mishap that ever happened to us as tragic, we are missing out on the light within that situation. Look, here's the real light. If you are still waking up every day, it's because God has a greater plan for you, and it's not yet completed. Every day is an opportunity to see your light as a gift. We will all have opportunities that are presented to us on a daily basis. These opportunities show up in the people we meet, the invitation we receive, or the information shared with us. Our response to these choices can determine the quality of our lives. The opportunities lie in your decisions. Let's say we have a young man who decides he's going to join a gang. We can judge him and say that he doesn't have any opportunities, but in reality, he had opportunities all along. If he had taken the time to finish school, had not quit his job, had not tried out drugs, or had gone to church like his grandmother told him to, he could have had access to a whole other set of opportunities. But let's get real about this thing. If you do what you've always done, your life will not get better. You can't find out a job application when you're gangbanging or selling drugs. And you can't get access to the right opportunities if you get caught and spend the rest of your life behind bars. The key to your opportunities lies in your decisions. In order to get the opportunities you want, you have to make the decision to change. Unfortunately, change is where a lot of people get uncomfortable. All of our actions are intertwined, and they prepare us for the moments to come. We don't know when, where, or how our next big moment is going to show up. I believe this is why God doesn't show us the full picture of our lives. If He did, we'd surely mix it up and quit. If God had shown me that I would be homeless and married twice, I would have said, "No me, where else you go?" If God had given me a sneak preview and allowed me to see that I would lose every single comedy competition that I entered before I eventually made it, I would have said, "You gotta be kidding me." When I was hosting the Showtime at Apollo, I remember introducing Sean Puffy comes for the first time. He comes walking out on stage with these two fat dudes who I later learned were Biggie Smalls and Lil Sis. And I said, "What in the world are these guys going to do? These dudes aren't even singing." I thought they weren't going to make it. But Sean came back the next time after he had signed his deal for the Bad Boy Records. And then he had a whole army of people with him decked out in the Bad Boy baseball jerseys. I look at all the times I've seen people fail and then make it anyway. I look at my own record of how many times I failed. But failure is such a huge part of succeeding. If only we understood the necessity of failure. You can't win until you lose. When you look at a great people like Michael Jordan, you have to realize that he didn't win 6 champions by only winning. He had to test defeat many, many, many times. I no longer look at failure as failure. I now see it as valuable learned, gained experience. It gives me a chance to see that learning what not to do is just as valuable as knowing what to do. It's a process. But when you can recognize and embrace the process of failure, you get another step closer to our yes. Chapter 3. Take the lead of the jar. In Moving toward your dream, it's necessary to take the lid off the jar. For too many of us let our age, race, sex, or economic background hold us down and restrict us from dreaming big. But you can't allow yourself to be held down by what your parents did or the limitations in your immediate environment. You have to take the lid off of your expectations and dream big. Have you ever looked at what happens to a flea when you put it in a jar? The flea jumps only high enough so that its head no longer hits the lid. If those fleas in the jar have baby fleas, the baby fleas are born with the same vertical ability to jump 200 times their size. However, because they are in an environment where they only see other fleas jumping so as not to hit their heads, they begin to duplicate the behavior in the environment. You can't concern yourself to try to duplicate the actions of others around you. You were clearly created and destined to climb, jump, and soar 200 times your size and even greater. How often do we allow the impressions of others to affect our direction, our altitude, or our ability? For too many times we have stunted our own growth and we have impeded our leap because of the opinions of others. How often do we stop our own progress because we looked to the left or to the right and based our action on someone else's ability? Don't get caught in the trap of comparing yourself to someone else. Release yourself from excuses and limitations. Just like a flea, we are all born with the ability to take huge vertical leaps. Yet slowly but surely, we let the neighborhood we grew up in or our family's socio-economic background affect how high we jump. We become just like those fleas in the jar, and we let our surroundings stop us from reaching our maximum potential. Some of us have been so conditioned to being in the jar of our limitations that when the lid is finally taken off, we don't know how to dream big. We can't imagine that we deserve anything better than what we already have. But you know what? We were created to live beyond our current jar, regardless of our sex, race, or ability. We were designed to jump so high, so hard that we can literally break the lid off wherever we are. I remember the first time I had a lid put on my limitations. I was in 6th grade, and my teacher asked everyone in class to write on a piece of paper what they wanted to be when they grew up. Everybody started writing, and I got excited. I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I got older. I wanted to be on TV. I wrote that down on my paper and turned it in. The teacher started calling out names and reading out what we wrote. I couldn't wait to hear her call me. When the teacher finally got to me, she said, "Little Stevie, stand up and come in front of the room." As I started walking to the front of the class, I just knew I had written something so deep and powerful that she wanted me to share it with everybody. I was a poor kid with hand-me-down clothes and a stuttering problem. This was my chance to show them that all that little Stevie was made of. When I finally got to the front, she asked me, "Little Stevie, what did you write on the paper?" I stuck out my little chest and responded with pride of an Olympic gold medal winner. "I want to be on TV." But then she confused me when she followed up with, "Why did you write that on the paper?" I'm thinking, well, isn't that what you asked me to do? But I respectfully said, "I thought that's what you wanted us to do. So I wrote down that I want to be on TV." My confusion turned into a horror when she asked, "Do you know anybody on TV?" "No, ma'am," I replied. "Has anybody in your family been on TV?" I said again, "No, ma'am." She delivered her final blow when she said, "Stevie, you can't be on TV. You take this paper, go home and write something more realistic, and then bring it back tomorrow." I was angry. I didn't understand what was going on. She asked me what I wanted to be, not what my parents did or what I saw other people do. I told her what I wanted, and she killed my dream right in front of the class. The teacher called my house before I got home, and as soon as I walked in the door, my mother asked me, "What did you do up at school today?" I told her what happened, and she said, "Boy, why didn't you just write something that the teacher wanted on the paper?" I stood in the kitchen and I couldn't understand why my mother was so upset. In 6th grade, I was still in a little flea, dreaming and jumping at 200 times my size. I wanted to be on TV because of Bill Cosby. When Ice Spy came on, the whole block would clear out and jar to run home and watch him. After I saw Bill Cosby, I knew I didn't want to be an electrician, a doctor, or a lawyer. I wanted to be funny on TV, just like him. That's all I knew. When my father came home, my mother told him what happened, and he said, "Well, what's wrong with that? If the boy wants to be on TV, why can't he write that on his paper?" My mom said she wants him to write something more believable. To which he replied, "If that's what he wants to be, then she better start believing it." My father told me to go to my room and wait for him there. When he finally came in, he talked about what the teacher wanted. He told me to get a new piece of paper. We agreed to write the word policeman on a new sheet and give it to her the next day. And then he told me to do something that changed my life forever. He said, "Steve, take out the first paper you wrote. Put it on top of your drawer, and every morning before you go to school and every night before you go to sleep, you read that paper and you believe that one day you'll be on TV. Now when you turn on your TV, 7 days a week, little Stevie is on TV." I didn't allow one lady in the 6th grade with her limited expectations to affect me. I admit it was damaging to me for some time, but I learned how to keep the dream alive. In one day, someone tried to put the lid on my dreams, and hours later, my father blew the lid off for good. At the time, I didn't realize just what my daddy did for me. Parents can be some of the biggest lid droppers by placing limitations on their children, but you have to take the lid off, no matter who puts it on or how long it has been there. Is your lid still on? Here are some ways you can tell if the lid is still on in your life. If you're not excited about waking up in the morning, if you're sitting around every day bored out of your mind, if you have time to do everything that anyone asks you to do, if you have time to watch all your scheduled TV programs every week and not miss an episode, if you're getting plenty of sleep, if your dreams make sense to everyone around you, if you can achieve your dreams by yourself, if you recognized any of these behaviors in yourself, all said yes as you read the list, you have to take the lid off your life and start living your dream. We are headed to part 2, discovering and embracing your gift.